Hey everybody, it's GauntletX, and welcome back to some more Magic Arena. We're here again for another premiere draft of Modern Horizons 3. Without further ado, let's get into the pack 1, pick 1. We're just going to slam dunk the territory color here, I think. 5 mana, 7/5 reach, so already just a massive stat line at worst, but with an excellent landfall trigger. You look at the top card of your library, if it's a creature, you just straight up draw that card, so a huge card draw engine, and even if it's not a creature, you get to keep surveilling the card, putting it into your grave if you don't want it. So great card, it ties us to only one color as well. I think that is the best monocolored option here. Breather Last is pretty close, so that would be a reasonable option as well if you just want some great removal. And Wastscape Battle Mage is a lot more restrictive. You'd like to be blue and green and have a lot of colorless sources for that card, but it has a higher upside where it can do a lot of stuff in the right deck. For pick 2, we've got a Ghost Fire Slice for red removal, Wither and Bloom for black removal, and if we want to stick on color, we've got Malevolent Rumble, which is solid. I mean, there's a lot of really high power cards, so being able to dig towards them with this is nice, and getting that Eldrazi spawn to jump up the mana curve and get to your cards like Territory Color Return early is nice as well. I think this is played a lot better than it looks, and it's a reasonable way to stick on color. But alternatively, another card that's technically on color is It That Heralds the End, but it is a restrictive mana cost. Needing a colorless source does mean it's kind of hard to cast, but it can be very explosive if you are a dedicated Eldrazi deck. So certainly a good option there as well, but we'll just stay nice and simple here with Malevolent Rumble. Now for pick 3, we have Path of Annihilation, which is a card I've been destroyed by a few times. It's been a while since I ran up against it, but I thought that this was going to be complete garbage. It just looked like a big random enchantment that doesn't do much, but I've ended up dying to it quite a lot because it just provides so much mana the turn after you play it. You play this for 4, you get 2 Eldrazi spawn. All of your Eldrazi spawn can now tap for a mana of any color, and when you do start casting big Eldrazi at 7 mana or greater, you start gaining 4 life. So if you play this next turn off of those 2 Eldrazi spawn alone, you're getting 4 mana. So with 4 lands and those 2 spawns, you have 8 mana. You can immediately start casting all of the big common and uncommon Eldrazi, and you're really close to the mythics and stuff. So it actually looks like a really good option for a dedicated green Eldrazi deck. So we'll take it here and actually try it out, since I have been destroyed by it enough by now. Pick 4, continuing down the mono-green Eldrazi ramp path, we've got a Nightshade Dryad. This is super good. It taps for any mana, well, 1 mana of any color, or colorless mana, so basically any mana you could need. So really, really flexible card and helpful for an Eldrazi deck. We'll take that. We could also head into our second color with this Breather Last, seeing that pick 4 is a decent sign, but it is still pretty early, especially in such a powerful format, to try to read too hard into signals. I'm going to grab this Nightshade Dryad. For pick 5, we have the red-green-white landscape and the red-green-black landscape. Red and green are 2 core Eldrazi colors. The Eldrazi colors are red, green, and blue. So red, green, white, red, green, black, these are both equally likely to be valuable for us since they both have red, green. I think black's probably slightly more likely. I've enjoyed red, green, splash, and black a little more than red, green, and white, because I think the best green white decks are just really aggressive, like modified kind of decks trying to put counters on the board and stuff. So Twisted Landscape's the best card for us to take here. I think the strongest card in the pack is probably Auxiliary for aggressive white decks, but we're very far from being an aggressive white deck. It's not really going to go well in like a weird green-white Eldrazi deck. Pick 6 now, we got that Drowner of Truth, which works even if we're still mono-green. This is a tapped green source, or our big top-end Eldrazi, a 7 mana 7/6 that comes with 2 Eldrazi spawn. Perfectly reasonable, even if we're not playing blue, and it's actually very good if we are, because we can also use it as fixing, playing the Drowned Jungle when we need it in the early game. Very, very good option here. There's some great cards for energy decks, but again, those are very far from what we're doing, being a green-based Eldrazi build. Pick 7, we get to grab another green-red fixer, this one being perfect, because it's green, red, and blue, all 3 of the potential Eldrazi colors. Again, very solid, aggressive white energy cards. So it looks like one of the most open archetypes in this draft pod. Just a white-based energy aggro deck, but also pick 7 Serum Visionary. Just a great blue value play. Pick 8, the Basking Brood Scale is very helpful for this kind of deck, giving us that Eldrazi spawn and just being a nice aggressive Eldrazi itself. We'll take that over off-color landscapes. Again, Riddlegate Gargoyle, super sweet pod for the blue-white energy drafter. Pick 9, Evolution Witness is reasonable, gives us some graveyard recursion. There's not much else here. There's just not a lot of creatures with power 5 or greater for the Monstrous Vortex. I guess we have Tool already with Territory Color and Drowner of Truth. We could try it, but it's pretty inconsistent. I'd rather just take Evolution Witness that always does something. Actually, Urza's Incubator's funny there too. Just all Eldrazi, go for Urza's Incubator. That might not be the worst either. Take a random landscape. I'll just rare draft a Branching Evolution. If we end up blue-green at the core, then Sink into Stupor actually is a pretty good spell to have attached to your land. And let's see what Pack 2 has in store for us. Alright, Pack 2, pick 1. We have Ulalek, which is unfortunately prohibitively difficult to cast, where I would never recommend drafting this in a competitive environment. Obviously, if we like Path of Annihilation, then we'll be able to have enough colorless or colored mana to get it down the next turn, but you have to play it and then you have to cast another spell after it to get it going. Once you do get it going, you're like definitely going to win, but super prohibitive for a bunch of reasons. I think I would just prefer the Wastescape Battle Mage, especially because we're starting to look like we are blue-green. This is just a much more consistent card. So I'll take Battle Mage over Ulalek, but that is a cool, fun card that it'd be fun to try out like one time in draft. I just would not recommend it competitively. Pack 2, pick 2. Well, we can splash in a Toxic Deluge for a full-on board wipe. That might be worth it. There's also a really good value play out of blue with Serum Visionary, or some good Eldrazi ramp options between Nightshade Dryad and Basking Brood Scale. So a loaded pack for us, all 4 of those being great options. I think I'm going to stick to our pure green-blue nonsense for now. And I kind of like Brood Scale a tiny bit better than Dryad when we have Path of Annihilation towards the go wide kind of build, wanting to have just a bunch of different Eldrazi on board towards that. And now for pick 3, this is a very easy Titans Vanguard. We are hedging towards a go wide Eldrazi deck, trying to make a ton of Eldrazi spawn, and this is going to buff that entire board, get some huge swings in. We are low on interaction in this archetype, low on removal spells and stuff, so Horrific Assault is certainly an option as well, but I don't think we can take it over the incredible Signpost Uncommon that is Titans Vanguard. Pick 4, we've got a Warped Tusker, which I like when we have the Path of Annihilation towards those high mana value Eldrazi. I also like the Malevolent Rumble for digging towards those big spells. Looks like we're doing really nice on 2 mana plays. I like all of our 2 mana plays quite a bit. Not super pumped about our top end right now, so I'm actually going to go Tusker here over Rumble. Pick 5, stuff's pretty filler. It's pretty hard to have Delirium in drafts. This is basically just a green source. This is pretty narrow, destroy a flyer. This is just a doofus 4/4 or 6/6 when you adapt it. I guess this blue removal spell plays pretty good in the right deck that has a lot of card draw. It's still okay here. It's always going to be 3 mana at worst. So it's fine. We are really low on interaction right now. So we'll take that. Pick 6, I'll pretty happily take another Basking Brood Scale. Pick 7, we have another one of the Perfect Triome, the Bountiful Landscape. Pick 8 now. I actually do like Petrifying Meddler as a big tempo play. Lock down their best blocker and get a huge creature on the board. The reach is pretty important as well, as a lot of the good aggressive decks are trying to use flyers to get over your board of Eldrazi spawn. Pick 9, again, we have like 4 cards total that work with Monstrous Vortex, otherwise it does literally nothing. I mean, I'll take it maybe over Unfathomable Truth. That's big card draw. There's just no way. I'm just not going to Monstrous Vortex. I am too much of a coward for that. Let's take a green-blue duel over a second Unfathomable Truths, though. Pick 11, Utter Insignificance, gives us a little more interaction, which I'm happy with. Sage of the Unknowable is a fine, mediocre ramper. The Dryad, obviously, infinitely better, but we don't find enough playables that can make the cut. All right, pack 3. What do we got? Sadly, we did not win the lottery and open an Eldrazi Mythic Rare or anything. But we got the very decent Eldrazi Repurposer, putting 2 Eldrazi on the board off of 1 spell that plays super well with Titan's Vanguard and Path of Annihilation kind of cards, so I'll take the Eldrazi Repurposer. Malevolent Rumble, another great option there. Pack 3, pick 2, there's another big high mana value, 7 mana value or greater creature for the Path of Annihilation to gain us a bunch. I like the Warped Tusker, Nyxborn Hydra also being decent for that. But we'll go for another Tusker here. Ooh, pack 3, pick 3, we found another territory color. Not only does this do everything I already told you about when we took the first one, but it also works great with landscapes, which we have a lot of in the deck right now, because that gives it double landfall trigger, so super happy with another territory color. It's competing with reasonable cards, a Drownyard Lurker or a Basking Broodscale, but it is just the sickness. Ooh, pick 4, we got Writhing Chrysalis, which is literally the best card in the deck. Or the best card in the deck. The best card in the set. It is better than every single mythic in the set when it comes to win rate. In terms of when this card gets cast, what percentage of games does it win? More than every mythic in the set. More than almost every rare in the set. There's one rare that's better than it, but it is completely broken, and it's a perfect splash for this kind of deck. It's an army in a can, going wide, making sure you have blockers for everything they're doing. It goes big by becoming a really, really large creature with the amount of Eldrazi spawn production it does on its own, but especially with other cards. It just does absolutely everything. It gives you 2 mana back out of it to ramp into a 7-drop next turn super easily, or just to get a 2 mana rebate so you can treat it like it was a 2 mana 4/5 reach at worst. It already looked pretty good, but it turns out it played completely brokenly. All right, we are low on removal, so I am happy to take this pick 5 Horrific Assault for a way to actually kill something. That looks really nice for this deck. Pick number 6, there's no full-on removal here. We've got another on-color Triome that looks wonderful. Another Petrifying Meddler that looks solid, but we have 3 other really good 5-drops already. Or just like another 7-drop here. I'm going to go for another fetch land. Pick number 7, there's another Eldrazi Repurposer, which works incredibly with the Chrysalis and the Titan's Vanguard and the Path of Annihilation, but there is a Stump Stomp for more removal. We're currently on Horrific Assault, Utter Insignificance, and Demon Inferior. There's also removal that can double as potential fixing if we haven't found the red source. I'm going to take Stump Stomp over Repurposer, but I think Repurposer is good enough to maybe have taken there. Oh my god, we found another Chrysalis. Well, Chrysalis is better than Repurposer, but Repurposer is very good, so I'm sad I just had to pass up on 2 of them. We are not getting those back. But you cannot be unhappy with another Writhing Chrysalis. Pick 9, there's a blue-red Fixer or a mediocre but flexible Eldrazi. We'll take the blue-red Fixer. Pick 10, random combat trick that's just going to get cut. Pick 11, let's rare draft this thing over the just 2 pieces of looting that the Harvester would give us. Pick 12, another random Evolution Witness. Not super synergistic for this deck, so it might be one of the first cuts. Yeah, rare draft the uncommon here, since I'm not playing a random energy card. And, you know, we could play a Drownyard Lurker. Not a bad final pickup. Alright, so we're on a 44 card deck right now, and we have an issue where I feel like everything in the deck is like too good. So I don't know what to cut, because there's nothing I would say is like bad in this deck. We probably have enough Eldrazi spawn production between Brood Scales and Rumble and Repurposer and Chrysalises, and we've got Ramp off of Dryad to drop the most mediocre of the ramp of the Sage of the Unknowable. Like, producing only colorless and only... I don't know why it's so much worse than Nightshade Dryad, honestly. Nightshade Dryad is like a 10 out of 10 when you compare it to Sage of the Unknowable. Like, it's Death Touch, so it's going to trade into a big threat later in the game on blocks. It's whatever color you need for whatever you need to cast, and it's still colorless mana towards colorless spells. I guess because blue's not allowed to get mana ramp, the Sage of the Noble is just infinitely worse, but it is like really bad. And we're splashing in like a third color here, so the fact that the Dryad does give us colored mana when we need it can be very relevant, like if we don't have a natural red source towards Chrysalis or Vanguard or something. Yeah, no, I just think Sage is much worse, even in a deck where almost all of our spells are technically colorless, so we could always get mana off of this. It might not be the right mana. And we have plenty of Eldrazi spawns for the colorless anyway. And most importantly, I gotta cut something. I just don't have much room. 3 more cuts to go. We do have 3 spell lands here. So if we're mana screwed, currently we're at like a 20 land deck towards trying to draw out of that. If we're mana flooded, we're at like a 17 land deck at the minimum. I think we cut like 1 land here, but we have so much high mana value stuff to do. We probably want to play these as lands pretty often. Or we just want a really high land count in general. So I'm just going to cut like 1 mountain here. Go 16 lands plus 3 spell lands for 19 land maximum, 16 land minimum with how we're playing those. Maybe a 15, 18 would be fine. You usually want your ideal land count to be like right in the middle of if you played these all as spells and if you played these all as lands. So right now we're at 19 as if we played them all as lands, 16 if we played them all as spells. The middle of that is like 17 and a half lands, which I guess is probably ideal, right? Yeah, a little more than 17 because we've got some ramp, but we also can cycle these. We need to. We got some flexibility. Don't need that many lands. Yeah, I like that. I like 16 lands and 3 land spells. What's the creature count? 18. Probably just drop 2 creatures here. Maybe one of the 2 cyclers is fine. Got the green one and have one of each seems okay. And then like one of the evolution witnesses, I suppose. I think that looks fine. 1 cycler, 1 evolution witness. Maybe it's like a petrifying metal or something. Leave all this top end. Really not sure. You know, I kind of like that. Because these are like 3s or 7s. So just make it like really low and top heavy. And use these as some in between. Maybe a meddler and a witness then. Yeah, we'll drop a meddler and a witness and see how that plays out for us. Maybe it's the wrong choice, but hey, we'll find out. That's more 7 drops for Path of Annihilation. All the 7 drops possible. Looks pretty sweet. Let's make sure the mana base is all good. There's only 3 red cards in the deck, 2 Chrysalis and a Vanguard. The Stump Stomp is hybrid, so we can cast it off green if we need to. How many ways do we have to get the red mana for our 3 spells? We've got a mountain. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red landscapes. So 6 ways in the mana base alone to find a red source. Plus, in a pinch, we can play Stump Stomp as Burn Willow Clearing. And we also have a Nightshade Dryad. I feel like 1 mountain is enough for this deck. And for green sources, we're on 5 green sources with 3, 4, 5 ways to fetch them. That's 10 ways to get green mana. Not to mention the 2 different flip lands that we could use in a pinch. That feels real good to me. That's basically 12. And for blue, we have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So 12, 11, 6 split. 12, 11, 6. I mean, I guess cut an island for a mountain would make sense here. We didn't actually end up with that much blue. You don't count the sink into stupor. Since we can play it as a land, it's actually just like 3 blue spells, because this is mono green as well. I guess we cut an island for a mountain. And we've just got real consistent mana here. Looks beautiful. We'll call it a deck there. All right, here we are on the draw for game number 1. We got Utter Insignificance for early removal. The Assault needs another creature for it. The mana's good. I think we keep here. If our opponent isn't super aggressive, we should be fine. However, red-white is a super aggressive color pair. We've got some cards in the deck that do require colorless mana, so I'm going to hold on to the landscape for now. Although I guess we don't have a natural blue source without playing the Drowner of Truth as the Drowned Jungle, so maybe we should have just cracked landscape for an island. Worn Power Stones. This is way different than I was expecting. We see a Boros land, and then we see green, blue, and mana ramp. So they're going to be ramping into some just gigantic spells in general, is their plan. So hopefully the Utter Insignificance can put a lot of work in for us. Let's go ahead and drop our landscape now. My only instant is Utter Insignificance, so I guess I might as well hit for 1. Hold that up. I guess I could cycle Tusker and Utter Insignificance. All right, I don't have the blue for Utter Insignificance. My brain is dead right now. That's my bad. We should have not attacked. Okay, not that it matters, because Ward 4 is way too much. So, if I get a spawn, then I can sack the spawn, sack a spawn, get a blue, and then 4 lands. Yeah, I have exactly enough to Utter Insignificance this Cannoneer, and we basically just die if we don't deal with it immediately. Actually, we Horrific Assault it instead of Utter Insignificance to just kill it. Can I Path of Annihilation towards it here? No, we have to wait on the path, which is rough because that means we're not Drownering next turn. I guess I could still do it and just take a hit from the Cannoneer, but that seems riskier than it needs to be. I can just Horrific Assault this thing without losing the spawn, and that's a perfectly solid turn. Glaring Fleshraker. When they cast colorless spells, get Eldrazi spawn. When colorless creatures enter, deal 1 to me. Okay. No biggie on that. Flyer's a somewhat big deal, probably a bigger deal than the Fleshraker here, so we can Path of Annihilation and kill the Flyer with Stomp Stomp. Still have an Utter Insignificance for later if we need it. Or do I Utter Insignificance the Flyer and save the Stomp Stomp for later? Utter Insignificance can be instant speed, so I'm going to save that one. And we're just going to play a Drowner, gain a bunch of life, and have a 7/6 to try to kill them with. That is our first big endgame threat. To start jamming. And there's their big endgame threat. All right. Sure. We can Utter Insignificance that. Could still wait till my turn and then like not have to sack any Eldrazi spawn to do it, so I probably will. Real mirror match here. It looks like they're actually just green, blue, red at the core. Well, Writhing Chrysalis is like even bigger than the Drowner. That's insane. That's super absurd. Okay, so we Chrysalis first, because I am gonna have to sack some spawns to play Insignificance and Drowner. I need to sack one spawn here to hold up Nightshade Dryad. Wait, 1, 2. I have to sack more, I guess. This is complex. 5, 6, 7. Okay, that's perfect. Okay, now I still have the Nightshade Dryad untapped. So I can tap Nightshade Dryad and sack one more spawn to cast Utter Insignificance whenever we need it. And this Writhing Chrysalis is basically just infinite power. And I have a Death Touch blocker for their 7/6, so I don't even technically need to Utter Insignificance it. Yep, so we can Utter Insignificance that one instead, and I am so glad I waited. We are in the most mirror match of all mirror matches. Fleshraker is going to end up doing a lot of damage to us, but with Path of Annihilation to keep gaining life, we're still way happier to kill their Chrysalis than anything else. So Drownyard Lurker? I have infinite mana. We cast this thing and still have Utter Insignificance. We have Utter Insignificance and the Exile without sacking anything. I guess they probably block the Drowner with their Chrysalis, and then I have to Utter Insignificance it, but we got them to sack all of those spawns. So that they don't have them around for another Chrysalis or for chump blocks later. I could do this pre-blocks even at this point, because now it's a 7/8 to block Drowner. Why did they do that in response? Why would you sack the last one? Because I'm going to exile you. I guess they didn't know about the extra bonus of being able to exile it as well, so they were like, oh, I need to sack one more to have an 8/8 to kill the 7/6. Alright, cool. They're at 19, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Just have their life total here and still have a bunch of threats. They have a 2/2 and they're on top decks? Sure. Alright. Here we go. Top deck is a land. They chump the Chrysalis, take 8, go to 1 life. And they're just going to concede on the spot. We start things off 1-0 with a victory in the mirror match. Here we are on the plate for game number 2. We have to top deck 1 land. That land will get us to Path of Annihilation, though, by sacking this Tusker. I'm not going to crack a landscape. I'm just going to play a forest. I don't want to lower the land count at all here. Come on, land. Boom, baby. Okay, now we can landscape for our blue. This blue is slightly more important than red in this deck. Okay, there's the Dryad. Looks like another mirror match. They're on green-red here. There's our Chrysalis. So I guess I wish I grabbed the red. But whatever, path can still get there later. I guess we have more blue spells than red spells, but all the blue spells are interaction and all the red spells are chrysalises, so I probably should always grab red first because chrysalis is completely broken. Another Flesh Raker. Okay, another land here. Gotta crack this Path of Annihilation for sure. So 5 mana on board. If I sack both the spawns, then that is the 7 to cast this Drowner of Truth, replace the spawns, and gain a bunch of life. But I could also just play this as a land, which is a big deal. I think I need to play this as a land still. Green, blue, black, and red from our opponent. And another glaring Flesh Raker, so every colorless spell makes 2 Eldrazi spawn now, and every Eldrazi spawn shoots us for 2. Doubling up the Flesh Rakers might just be GG. I can kill one of them with Horrific Assault, I guess. Red. Green. 2. Chrysalis. We want the Chrysalis on board before we sacrifice any Eldrazi spawn. For 1 and a black, is there anything that could destroy the Chrysalis? For double black and 1 is when the instant speed removal that destroys any size creature starts. I think I can Horrific Assault a Flesh Raker here with Chrysalis. Because it would be like -3/-3 and stuff, which isn't enough. Yeah, let's kill a Flesh Raker with Chrysalis. I guess they could have a bounce spell. Oh no, they have 3 mana actually because they have a spawn, but still resolves, we're good. Now we drop a Brood Scale or a Dryad. Drop a Dryad for a bigger turn next turn. I'd have to sack 1 spawn, which is slightly sad with Path. But I guess I'd be sacking a spawn. I'd be sacking a card that taps for mana for a different card that taps for mana. So I'll just go Brood Scale, since technically that taps for mana too. Every Eldrazi does with Path of Annihilation. Okay, yeah, this card is like actually wild. Just completely changes how your game goes from there. With like near infinite levels of mana with Eldrazi spawn producers like Chrysalis. Alright, hard cast a Warped Tusker, fair. Not quite as big as our 4-drop Chrysalis, but it can try. I guess technically it's slightly bigger right now. We make ours a 6/7. Once we use Brood Scale, ours will be bigger. Malevolent Rumble. Sure. Yeah, I like getting more Eldrazi spawn on this board. Second Chrysalis would be so gross. Okay, there is no second Chrysalis. Landscape's not bad with territory color in hand. play a color and start doing landscape stuff. That feels a little better than Drownyard Lurker. Although Lurker, would I have the mana for it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, I could just tap everybody. I don't even have to sack a spawn for it. Yeah, no, that's probably a little better. To play that for turn. Sacking 1 spawn. Guess I can sack 2 and still have Brood Scale's ability up later. No, that seems sick. I'm just like living in magical Christmas land. I can just do whatever I want. All the Eldrazi's. Okay, Chrysalis is an 8-9 on this board. Actually, we can trigger Brood Scale as well. Make it a 10-11. They can block with 8 power. They can't kill Chrysalis, so we send in for however much damage we want to do. Probably 0. They just chump with a 0-1. Alright, they're just going to let it in. How much do I want to do then? I can only do 4 more maximum. I'm fine with just doming them for 5 for now. So if they have spot removal for Chrysalis that just kills any size creature, we still have a bunch of spawn around for the next one. Or for the card that puts a +1/+1 counter on the whole board. Plus, every spawn we have is a full-on mana dork, which is important with 12 mana value worth of cards in hand. So there's a real cost to sacking some spawns here. If I play Dryad, I'm tapped out of adapting Brood Scale, and I really want to adapt Brood Scale. That's threatening. I guess it only annihilates us once, because we can definitely kill it when it declares the attack, but still an 8/8 Annihilator later. Meddler, that's a solid way to deal with Chrysalis for now. Solid way to deal with Chrysalis. Alright, they pass turn. I would have to fully sack a spawn to get one out of Brood Scale. Let's not. Repurposer. 5, 6, 7, 8 here. Sure. We have a 7/5 and a 7/7 untapped with the spawn for a chumper. I'm incredibly glad I played this as a land, because we are not top decking lands. So even though I have like all this other mana I can use, that land has still been very useful. Scurry of Gremlins. Alright. +1/+0 to the whole board. If they get enough Eldrazi spawn, they just go wide and kill me. That's already +2/+0 to the whole board, actually, and we only have 4 blockers up. Not enough for lethal right now, but it is scary. Could be really huge really soon. And this idol is practically like an infinite supply of chump blockers. Quadruple territory color trigger off of this landscape. Sure. Gotta draw every creature in our deck. That is not a creature. That is a creature. I'll draw it. We can exile the Idol of the False Gods or the Scurry of Gremlins and bounce one of their tokens, I suppose. Could exile the Scurry. Pretty sure I exile the Idol, though. Bounce a Gremlin. So, blue, green, 1, and a colorless. Oh, I need 1 more mana still. So tap another creature for the non-colorless here. So much to look at. I need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 5 mana. It only bounces opponent's creatures, so we can't, like, recast something for value. Not that any of our creatures have particularly huge value. It's just gonna be like 1 more spawn. Because I definitely don't want to recast Chrysalis and lose all the counters. Okay. We're on 1 more mana for Battle Mage still. And then we are kicking it fully. Done. Exile that. Bounce that. And then double landfall again. Draw a creature. Draw a creature. Flop a creature down. Attack with Chrysalis. I have 5 spawn maximum on this board because I can use both brood scales. So I can make Chrysalis 11 power, 12 toughness. They have 10, 11, 12, 13 power on their board. They could kill the Chrysalis at the cost of pretty much the rest of their board. And then I can kill everything else. Or kill them with everything else. So we send it in. Wait, I guess I wouldn't kill that many creatures because their stuff has higher toughness than power. I would kill like the Tusker and a bunch of the smaller stuff blocking it. Okay, I can't lethal them, so I think 6 is fine by me. And then we pass. Okay. Drop another brood scale for more spawn. Pick up a Tusker with Evolution Witness, but I think I just save it. In case Chrysalis dies or something. We start forcing the chumps here. All right, and our opponent is out of here, so we are now 3-0 with this insane Eldrazi deck. I retcon my previous statement. We are actually 2-0. These have just been some long games of Magic. All right, here we are for game 3. Reasonable keep, rumble into the Kohler. Kohler gets to be played turn 4 with this hand. Got the insignificance if we need interaction. Ooh, Brood Scale's the draw? I think Brood Scale's the better play for now then. Then I can jam for 3 and make a spawn. And still turn 4 territory Kohler. So Evangel gets to proliferate whenever they play a non-token creature, so it has some pretty gross combos. Any energy creatures, any shield counter creatures are some of the really nasty ones. In fact, I'm pretty sure I play a blue source. So if they specifically cast something that puts a shield counter or a really important counter on the board, we can respond with utter insignificance so that it will not proliferate the counters or anything. We can flash this in, sacking the Eldrazi spawn if we need to. Worst case scenario. Take 3. And they're just going to pass. Fair enough. Means we get to resolve territory Kohler if they don't do anything. Dog Umbra. Sure, that's fine. All right. No attacks. And here's territory Kohler. That was actually the perfect opportunity to send a message by attacking with a 0/1 spawn. But I failed to do it. Alright, Nyxborn Hydra is a 3/4 thanks to the Evangel. Battle Mage can exile that, which is super gross. For 1 a colorless and a green? I kind of want to do that. Means I need to rumble and then sack the spawn. No green source yet, so it's bold to take Chrysalis, but color is also kind of expensive. I guess we're only 1 land draw off of color, and it can be any land draw. Guess I take color. Over Chrysalis, as strong as that card is. Exile the Hydra and just get in. Hey, sometimes a 7/5 body is just a 7/5 body, and that is good enough. Boom. They are down to 10. They're stuck on 3 mana here. They just pass turn. On this board, we just jam in. For sure. They do have another dog Umbra. Sad for the Kohler. Trade the 2/2 into the 3/1, or they go down to 8, and they are going to go down to 8. Oh, we still get the landfall triggers. That's sick. So there's land 6. I've got a Warped Tusker in hand, so I take it. It also triggers Territory Kohler twice. So actually, next turn we get to cast the second Territory Kohler and then do both of their triggers twice. Try to draw 4 creatures if we're insanely lucky. Springheart Nantuko is a real big deal. When they play a land, they can make a copy of this thing. Even if it has an utter insignificance on it. But I can make the copy just a 1/1 with no abilities, luckily. Instead of a 3/1 with utter insignificance. Okay, well, it's already just going to be a 1/1 no abilities at that point. Because they don't have the green source up for that. There's Mandibular Kites, which, again, proliferates, which doesn't do anything, sure. Okay, I think we utter insignificance this, so if they have the mana up, it's just 1/1s. Here's another territory color, here's a landscape. Draw a creature. Mill a land. Because I'm going to shuffle anyway. Send in a 2/2, trade into 2 1/1s, or the 2/2 Metastatic of Angel. I guess we just trade into that, because now even the 1/1 body keeps spitting out 1/1s, right? Yeah. Maybe it wasn't worth an attack at that point, since we did utter insignificance. Yeah, this Nantuko is going to be just really difficult to find a way through no matter what we did there. I guess we could have just held on to utter insignificance, so if we could ever get it to fall off, we could try to exile the Nantuko itself. Ew. Bolted Wake is pretty good there. There's an Oozewag, so they can actually have counters to proliferate. Wow. Yeah, I mean, they're back in here because Nantuko is a busted rare. It's fully road blocking here, even when we had basically removal for the card they put it on. So I want to draw cards badly enough to not just keep a land for a Tusker. I don't think so. Because I still get to trigger it again by playing the land. Try to draw cards now. And still fail. I will take a Horrific Assault, though. I'll certainly take a Horrific Assault. Could actually Unfathomable Truths and use it immediately. Okay, adapt the Oozewag. Play any creature, puts another counter on it, but it's still small enough to die to Horrific Assault. Token creatures don't count for the proliferate. I think I have to Horrific Assault the Ooze Wag. And then cast another Tusker, and I can just like attack with everybody next turn. They need a big combat trick here, and they do not have one. I could Unfathomable Truths instead of playing another Tusker. Then I play another land for the double color, but I'll still have one color around even if they kill this one on blocks. I'm just gonna keep the pressure on. Break some of these tokens off the board. Go for a kill on the color. And a chump on the Tusker, you got it. Here's another Tusker. And there's the Jolted Awake again. Evangel's back again. And a land. So 4 blockers. We have 8 toughness, so it's literally all trumps at this point. Flying to the 3-1. Alright, well, we're looking good. Chump, chump. Now, Unfathomable Truths. Draw some cards off a color, maybe. Nope, mill a land. Let's play Repurposer and just keep all the spawn around. Fine with that. That's lethal on board. 6 plus 3 is 9. They block 1 6 power creature and take 9 from the other 2 creatures. And land is their top deck. That is lethal on board, and now we are officially 3-0. All right, here we are for game 4. We're on the draw with our hopes and dreams of Wandering Chrysalis in our near future. Oh my god, what did I do? Oh my god, my brain fart! That's an issue. We could lose from that. I cannot believe I brain farted like that. Stupid, fleshy, monkey brain sack of poop. Yeah, if I'm stuck off green mana, I definitely lose the mirror. I can't believe, how did that happen? I thought I had the green instead of the red in the hand for some reason. We still have like 12 green sources in the deck. Like some ridiculous amount. So we could still draw. Oh, God almighty. Yeah, I mean, that's on me. I mean, our hand is like super busted if we have the green source. I just gotta keep it interesting, you know? We can't just 7-0 with the most busted Eldrazi deck ever. We gotta... Oh... We gotta give people a chance here. And their curve wasn't even like, it was strong, but it wasn't like that scary that it would beat like Chrysalis Horrific Assaults. Especially like Path of Annihilation as well. There's a lot of ways. I feel like we would have won that if we just grabbed a green source. But hey, sometimes you click the wrong card. All right, now that we've kept things interesting, go back to the win streak here as we head into game number 5, 3-1 right now. We're on the draw again. So I've got the Battle Mage in hand, which makes me kind of want to keep this landscape. Although I guess Brood Scale can give me a spawn for it, or Tusker can give me a spawn for it. Or Dryad can give me the mana for it. Green, black, blue. Let's go Dryad. Hope for no cheap interaction here. Leads to the most explosive plays next turn. And gives us the most flexible options. Double black. They don't kill anything yet. So, Brood Scale and Adapt. The Brood Scale seems like the best play against somebody with nothing on board. But I suppose I'll have the option up to use Landscape instead. We do this so they can't kill Brood Scale to stop me from adapting. Or they can't kill Dryad to stop me from adapting. Temperamental Oozewag. That's a perfectly fine target to just bounce next turn. With Battle Mage or Demon Inferior. To slow them down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 mana is not the 7 we need for Tusker. So I kind of just like Battle Mage, put it back in their hand. Oozewag is back. We can deem that inferior and hit with everybody again. However, if I do choose to deem it inferior, I don't cast Warped Tusker this turn. I can hold off for one turn. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yep. They've set up a monstrous vortex. If they manage to cast something really big, that could turn the game around, but they're going to take 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 next turn. Stump Stomp and save the Demon Inferior for something that might be too big to deal with right now. Yeah. Sure. Well, I guess if I keep the Dryad on board, Stump Stomp can kill anything, but whatever. Hit for one less to have Evolution Witness mana up. Since I tapped double green like a doofus. Yep, should have tapped it away to where I had 2 green sources up, so I didn't need to not attack with Dryad. I could have just sacked a spawn towards Witness instead. Oh. That can be a lot of chumps. There's 1 chump. Well, 2 chumps. This only returns permanents, right? Yeah, and Stump Stomp is not a permanent. Alright, they concede anyway, we're good. We even top decked Unfathomable Truth so I could draw 3 and then Demon Inferior for 1 off of the Nightshade Dryad. Didn't end up cracking the Landscape, though, because I wanted to have Colorless still available. But I think Battle Mage might be our only colorless card, so maybe we should have cracked Landscape for another blue in case of this exact draw. All works out anyway, they just didn't have a lot of action there, and we continue the win streak. We are now 4-1, undefeated in games where I don't mana screw myself due to fleshy monkey brain. Here we are for game 6. This is a keep for sure. I believe, well, could Landscape for red immediately so we know we can Chrysalis? Like, also save the Landscape to see what kind of lands we top deck, because getting a second green source would let me play a Brood Scale and adapt the first one in the same turn. Plus, keeping the Landscape could let me Battle Mage without sacking a spawn, so I'm going to chill for now. There's so much to think about in this format. Like, with just how we want to use this mana in general. Another blue source is about the worst land draw in the deck. So we get the colorless source for Battle Mage onto the board and play the Brood Scale. But next turn is the defining turn where I need to crack it for red if I don't draw one to be able to Chrysalis on turn 4. We drew a red source off Stump Stomp, but I'd have to discard a potential removal spell for that. I'm going to crack Landscape on red. Sure. Playing against some blue-red energy nonsense. Oh, the blue-white duel, though, so they're full blue-white-red. Cursed Mirror, they get to poke me for 2, and then they've got a red mana later. Sure. Let's see what you do about a Writhing Chrysalis. Actually, I could just Battle Mage that Cursed Mirror if I didn't crack the colorless source here. But I can still Battle Mage it next turn. Probably worth just getting Chrysalis on board instantly. It's got 5 toughness, so there's no red removal that kills it yet. At least not at common, for sure. Void Pouncer's not gonna do it. Can attack past it, because they know I'm not gonna trade. But now I've got the double target for this Battle Mage. I need green to exile the mirror, so we can't use Brood Scale right now. This costs 5 mana. Pretty huge turn. Kind of have to save this Eldrazi so I can Lurker next turn if we don't stump. So 1 less damage on that swing. Void Pouncer's back. I was gonna say be really, really bold to attack at that point. So they don't. Let's rumble into a green source. Perfect. There's another Chrysalis, but I think I can lethal. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Wait, 1 damage off from lethal? This is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 damage plus 2 is 8, plus 3 is 11. Yeah, we can exact lethal. Taking a green source. Because I can green source to use Brood Scale. Stomp the blocker. Sack all the spawn and deal 11. Yeah. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. We are now 5-1 in the money. All the gems we need to draft again as we head into round number 7. Here we are for game 7. This is a sketchy one because I could landscape for the wrong lands again. But otherwise, I think it's decent. We need to draw 1 land to get to Repurposer, but then we can also just cycle anything and all that from there, so. We are going to landscape for a green source immediately. And I'm going to click the right land this time, and I'm not going to brain fart. I'm not going to get blue mana. I'm going to get green mana. There's a Chrysalis, so now I want to get red. And I'm going to click on the correct land on that one as well. We're going to click on a mountain. We are thinning a couple lands out of deck, which makes it slightly harder to draw land, but again, maybe like 1-2% less likely. Nothing huge here. Here is the red source. And the draw is a land. You love to see it. Come on down, Eldrazi Repurposer. Let's get rolling. There's a Snapping Void Crawl for mana ramp from our opponent. I don't want to get greedy here and just Horrific Assault the Void Crawl. Try to be in a position where I don't have to cast Chrysalis without sacking the first spawn. That's probably wrong though, right? Like, you just play this thing immediately. Yeah. I don't know, holding them off mana seems reasonable too, because it's double mana. If I had double green and I could play Brood Scale and Assault, I think that would be super reasonable, but since it would be only Assault and cast nothing else for the turn, Chrysalis is probably a little better. Colossal Dread Mask, nice and early. Alright, well that's terrifying. Ooh, that is 2 spawns, which is enough to make Chrysalis 6 power. Let's go. Oh my god, and I can afford to cast the Assault if I want. So I can send in the whole board. I don't have the spawn anymore, but I can start cycling these towards the Path of Annihilation. There's so many options. Also, just like playing Brood Scale and adapting is big here. Letting the Germ stick around for now. I like that a lot. Where I go green, colorless, Brood Scale, and I can still send in a 6 power Chrysalis. or what threatens to be a 6-power Chrysalis. Yeah, I feel like I'm going to sack these anyway, so let's do it. I'm going to sack one of them for sure to adapt the brood scale. Okay, this one I'm going to keep for mana. I've got a lot of expensive stuff. Yeah, maybe hit for 5 was the nice little middle ground there. Still get the mana to adapt the brood scale, but then I have a little more mana for next turn towards casting a 7-drop. This format sometimes generally does just feel like putting my brain on a skillet. It's I legitimately, because the way I do these things is I have 2 days off work a week generally, so I will record 3 or 4 drafts each of those 2 days. This is my 4th of today, my 4th video recorded. Technically, one of them was the qualifier weekend, and I just have such a headache. This format is a lot. All right, there's their own Writhing Chrysalis. That's a strat because I have no trample. So just trump with a spawn, sack it to make Chrysalis bigger multiple times. Uh-oh. They're sacking immediately. They need the mana, or they need the body size. The mana it is, an Eldrazi Repurposer for another spawn. Alright, well, the Chrysalis is small enough they can't make it survive a Horrific Assault, which is a pretty big deal. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 by sacking the spawn. I have enough mana to cast a 7-drop, but I couldn't play Assault in the same turn without tapping Chrysalis to do that, instead of tapping Chrysalis to attack. However, if I attack, I'm just going to get chumped by a 0-1 anyway, so I kind of do like the Horrific Assault line here. One, two, three, four, five, six. 7th mana is sacking the spawn to cast this, and then get green from that. Yeah. Get green from Chrysalis to Horrific Assaults. Gain 4 and have a 6/8 against the 6/6. But we need to kill the Chrysalis before it gets a Dread Mask on it and tramples over and kills me, since I can't trample over and kill them. That looks like the best we can do for the turn. Just no attacks involved. I'm on 3 mana with this board state, by the way. I'm on 3 lands, and this is my board. Path of Annihilation has been incredible today. There's their Drownyard Lurker. Fanged Flames to exile the Repurposer. We don't get a spawn back out of it since it is exile. And they pass from there. Another Brood Scale. We're just gonna drop a 7 drop, right? I think I need to hold up a Chrysalis or a 6/8 on blocks here. Let's hold up a Chrysalis and drop another. Another 6/8. They could just move the trample to the Drownyard Lurker and they have a giant vigilant trample thing. That kills my Chrysalis on attacks. Their blocks are significantly worse if they do that. They're not going to. They're just going to pass. Fair enough. There's a land. Start using territory color, probably. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Maximum landfall triggers from color this way. Mill the land. Because unless they can exile Path of Annihilation, I'm on near infinite mana anyway. Crack this. Trigger again and see what we draw. Another land, mill that. Here's Brood Scale. I feel like if they put Dread Mask on Drownyard Lurker, we probably have to take it here for a turn. They're just passing through again. Oh, they do a horrific assault for the territory thing? That's sad. Yeah, I can't do anything about that. They're out of cards in hand, though. And there's the Bountiful Landscape, but the Kohler is gone. Just don't have attacks. 3 spawn can get sacked. Brood Scale is 2. Lurker is 3. Chrysalis is 11 power. 12 toughness. 12 toughness still gets double blocked by a 7/7 and a 6/6, and I only kill 1. I'm actually not entirely sure how we break through. Do we just play enough 7-drop creatures that we start attacking with everybody? Right, we get into a position where they have to like double block Chrysalis, and then that means these 6/8s and stuff just eat the rest of their board. Yeah, maybe we just like attack all next turn and just see what comes of it. It's also drawing a card every turn off this Void Craw, which is actually really threatening here. That they get 2 cards to work with per turn. They're getting a 2 for 1 each turn. We're stuck on 1. Yeah, we need to pressure them here, or they just draw out of this. And there they go, drawn out of this. Have we hit our battle mage thing yet? No? So that would be one of our best draws. Exile the Dread Mask. Oh, that's one of our best draws as well. For sure, that's one of our best draws. Probably to crack this landscape. Stump Stomp? Not like incredibly impressed by that. Kill the Void Craw? If I kill the Lurker, then their blocks on Chrysalis are very bad, but they get to keep drawing 2 a turn. What is Evolution Witness going to do here? Territory Color. Territory Color better than Drownyard Lurker here. 16 cards left. Probably. Alright. I'm going to go full pressure. I'm going to Stomp the Lurker and send the team in. Going to force many chumps right now because the Tuskers are now free to go in as well. Kill a Tusker. Trump. Sure. We kill the 6/6 germs, they have to spend 6 to get their power toughness back again. Rather than killing Repurposer and give them another Trumper. We want to lower the number of creatures on this board. I guess I have to play this land to also be able to adapt this at instant speed. Looks like we're breaking through here. They're down to 3 blockers. There's the concession from our opponent. We are now, I don't even know because these games have been so long. We're either 5-1 or 6-1 here. We're pretty close to the final boss regardless. And it looks like we are indeed 6-1. We are 1 win away from a trophy run with this deck. So we'll see how it all wraps up as we head into the final boss. All right, here we are for the final boss. Crack this landscape towards blue immediately, just telling myself that again. So we have that for utter insignificance on 2, then Repurposer on 3. Let's do it. But let's crack for the correct land. Blue source, island. Island time, there's island. The one thing that can go wrong with this deck did not go wrong this game, and now I think we're in a great position. Save this landscape for now in case we hit our great colorless card. Could shut off the abilities on that, I don't mind, but they're going to have really big creatures to hit later. Molten Gatekeeper. Alright, so I can just like Horrific Assault the Brood Scale so they have no blocks here. And I still stop them from getting the spawn and ramping up. Well, that would mean not playing my own Brood Scale for the turn. This landscape doesn't hit green, which is awkward. I'd just be playing Brood Scale to then adapt it the turn after this still. Double 7 drop in the hand, though. I think we play it slow. Another Gatekeeper. Going to be very explosive if they play anything that makes multiple spawns, like a Chrysalis. They're a double Gatekeeper deck. They might not be going that high curve, and it might be reasonable to utter insignificance a Gatekeeper to stay alive. It's also mana efficient. This could end up not working out for me, but we'll see. Like, I just really don't want to get spawn gang commandered right now. That'd be like 4 creatures hitting the board. That'd be 8 damage. I think just double Gatekeeper can be really explosive. And the fact that we can exile off of this does make it a pretty good option against the Gatekeeper. I can exile their Gatekeeper now and get a spawn in the same turn. Although I'd have to sack the spawn to exile the Gatekeeper if I spent 2 on getting another one. Nyxborn Hydra on the first Gatekeeper. It's not even like that big. 5/6. Yeah, I can deal with the 5/6. We just play a 6/8, and then that card doesn't matter anymore. And that's what we're going to do next turn. We're going to play a 6/8. So let's get the mana to play a 6/8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's an 8th mana, so I can Horrific Assault in the same turn if I feel it really necessary, but I don't. So instead, we just keep an Eldrazi spawn. Feels reasonable. If they have that 4 mana 3/3 that lets them sack a creature to steal something till end of turn, that would be an incredible play. Sacking the Molten Gatekeeper so they can unearth it, stealing the Tusker. Uh-oh. Oh my god, I should not have spoke. Okay, this isn't even the end of the world, but it's definitely pretty good for our opponent. Yeah, they are super, super aggressive, so I don't mind having used our removal pretty early here. But again, like, we're still actually fine here. Unless they have a trample trick to throw at the Tusker. Yeah, no, we're fine. All okay. We're gonna be okay. We get our 6/8 back. We drop another one. And gain some life if we really need to. Clearing out one of their creatures. I'd attack with a Tusker, I'd die if they can kill my other one. So if they have like a second Infernal Captor, I guess. And this Gatekeeper's probably going to kill me. I guess if I pop it, they just have a 3-power reach trample thing. Yeah, you know what, sure. We'll play it pretty safe and just pop it. And just hold off on blocks. Looks like a matchup we win the long game. I was like thinking about getting Tusker attacks and stuff in there, but let's just play it pretty slow here and wait till we get something really safe to start cracking it all. Okay, so the double unearth is going to hit for some damage for sure. Please not a Chrysalis. Oh, Jesus Christ. All right. We're not dead. Unless they also have burn. But Chrysalis is 6 toughness. We can stomp the Chrysalis. We've got 1 red mana and X here. Reiterating Bolt. Which puts us to 1 life. If they attack with everybody. Block everything that can actually die and go to 1 is the play. And then we kill their only creature left and have 2 6/8s against nothing. They're on top decks. Yeah, so they don't attack. And it's going to be a 3/4 and a 3/3 versus 2 6/8s, but they're at 20 and we're at 3, but about how you imagine things to go with the super aggro versus the super grindy deck. Dryad is not bad at all. Again, they can make it 6 toughness. That is not enough. I could, just in case, play Nightshade Dryad and use the Death Touch Stomp, just in case I really flubbed the numbers on this. Alright, here starts the top deck war from behind. With the amount of Eldrazi spawn production we have in the deck, we just thin some lands out here, I think. Oh. I guess that's just a repurposer, or an Utter Insignificance, actually. Utter Insignificance is a really, really good card with Evolution Witness, since it's a permanent. Be able to pick that up at instant speed as an emergency button. So now I have an emergency button, and I can probably send one thing in and still have my backup. Break in case of emergency, we spend 2 to pick up the Utter Insignificance and 2 to cast it at instant speed. So we can start whittling down their life total or their board. I almost think I have to just save Witness to be able to pick up Utter Insignificance, since the best other option is just a 3/3 anyway. I mean, maybe I just pick up the Insignificance immediately. It's also reasonable, yeah. I'm gonna pick it up. Oh, that's pretty good. Seems decent. Four blockers plus Insignificance. Yeah, let's do it. They have to chump one thing, which means that they have, I guess, 5 attackers. Never mind. I was going to say only 4 attackers. I forgot about Brood Scale. Thought that lined up perfectly, but it just lines up decently. Pyro Surf is big if they have another haste creature. Oh no, that's the triple landfall though. Okay, so I have to insignificance that, and I block 3 creatures. Block, 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 take 2, yeah. It doesn't gain Battlecry anymore if I insignificance it, right? I guess I'll find out. But if they respond by cracking the land, it'll still have 1 thing on it? Okay. I think that if I utter insignificance on it, then any battle cry they give it before utter insignificance resolves is gone, but the battle cry that it's going to get after utter insignificance resolves will be there, so it'll still have 1 battle cry, maybe, and kill me. Because I go block, 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 block. Take 1, 2, 3 off of 1 battle cry. Yeah, if this battle cry would resolve, then it would maybe kill me there. So it is really important how that works, and I have no idea how it works. But I think since it has the same name, it loses its abilities, has base power 1/1, but if it gains an ability after I put utter insignificance on it, it would gain that ability, so it would gain this. But the problem is, if I use this now, then it gains this battle cry. If I wait for that to resolve, and they try to move to combat, and when they move to combat I cast utter insignificance on it, then they can respond to me casting utter insignificance on it by cracking the landscape. So they can crack a landscape in response either way. Oh, wait, no, I'm an idiot. We could have done this better. If it does work the way where it keeps the battle cry, it would have been better to let that resolve. Then when they move to combat, we then target it with utter insignificance, because if they try to put another battle cry on it, we let it resolve and then utter insignificance, and if they don't try to put another battle cry on it, then we just utter insignificance, and they can respond by putting battle cry on it, but then I make it lose all of the abilities after that battle cry gaining resolves, if that makes sense. This would be on the stack on the right of utter insignificance, so it would get battle cry, but then it would lose it to utter insignificance. I'm pretty sure I played that wrong, if this works that way, but maybe it didn't matter at all, and our opponent conceding just makes sense, and it's just like, okay. So, yeah, if it didn't matter, it didn't matter. But if it does gain the battle cry, even if it has no abilities, but then gains battle cry after this thing resolves, then I played the only way that would get me killed. I think we had to wait till they move to combat and then do that to be safe as possible. But it doesn't matter here, because we'll never know if that is how it works or not. Maybe it doesn't matter at all, and that is not how it works. But our opponent conceded, so it really doesn't matter. Anyways, this deck was broken in half. I played fine. I don't think I played incredibly or anything. No super smart lines. There were a lot of games I think I probably could have won faster if I played a little tighter, and games like that last game that maybe I gave our opponent an opportunity to wriggle out of it there. With when I chose to cast the utter insignificance, and obviously our one loss was just monkey brain clicking on the wrong land instead of tutoring for the forest, but that just goes to show how powerful this deck was. It was wide open, it was a ridiculous draft pod for the Eldrazi deck, and so this is a deck that any decent player could probably get the full 7-0 with, and because of our massive misclick punt, we still get the 7-1 instead of the 7-0, but we would have had to play really badly to do worse than that. It looks like this deck was completely busted. 2 of some of the best cards in the entire format, literally the second best card in the whole format, better than almost every other rare, mythic, literally every other uncommon and common, the Writhing Chrysalis, and it played as such in this deck. These were, in many of our games, like 10 plus power, absolute massive win conditions, while making a board state that our opponent can't attack into on turn 4 to really slow the game down and give us the time to cast all this big nonsense. The Path of Annihilation was the overperformer of the deck. I have been destroyed by it several times, and this was probably one of the best cards in the whole deck. It single-handedly cast the majority of our spells in many games. I think we had multiple games where we had this and we were stuck on like 3 or 4 lands, and this thing was just going crazy with the amount of Eldrazi we had on the board to help cast more spells. But even when we hit every land drop, these just helped curve into like late game plays of being able to play like 2 colors in 1 turn and stuff like that, which was awesome. So yeah, everything in the deck did great. I think we got to play pretty much everything in the deck. We never drew Sink into Stupor, so that didn't really get a time to shine. And we only drew the Titan's Vanguard once, but it was pretty good in that final game when we did draw it. Outside of that, I don't think there's a single card in here that played particularly poorly. I think everything did its job pretty well and helped us out a lot at the right time. Even that Evolution Witness, that little combo to pick up the Utter Insignificance, made things extra safe, and that was super, super nice. So really sweet deck, really busted one. We stuck hard to our great early Eldrazi cards, and it remained open, so we just splash in a bit of red, bit of blue, and play the Dream Eldrazi deck here for another trophy run in Modern Horizons 3. But that is going to end today's video. As always, I'd like to thank my patrons and YouTube members for their support, as well as you for watching the video. If you're interested in seeing some more, you can always like, comment, and subscribe to tell the YouTube algorithm to send you some more in your recommended feed. If you'd like to catch me live, you can check out the Twitch channel in the link in the description below. And if you'd like to support the channel directly, you can check out the Patreon link in the description below. But other than that, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.